All right, let's go ahead and begin. Welcome everyone to Sanctuary Zoom church service. My name is David Borger-Gurman. I'm one of the pastors at Sanctuary. Today is Sunday, February 7th, 2021. My phone tells me it's minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit in Iowa City. I'd love to make a joke about the weather, but nothing's funny anymore when it comes to the weather. So if you are looking for a distraction from terrible weather or a terrible pandemic, there is the pinnacle event of American sports happening tonight, the Super Bowl, of course. Quarterback Tom Brady is playing in his 10th Super Bowl. And I learned the other day that he and I are the same age. He's just 2 months older than I am, which made me begin to re-examine some of my life's goals and accomplishments. That was not a very helpful or fruitful exercise, however, as comparing ourselves to others seldom is, so I stopped doing that. But anyway, whether you enjoy the Super Bowl or not, may we all continue to embrace the things that sustain us through hard times, like being together at Sanctuary's worship church service. It is a delight and a joy to be together once again, to see you all on Zoom, or at least greet you in the Facebook world. Hello. All right, with that, let me read Sanctuary's welcome statement as we do every Sunday. We here at Sanctuary are a community that makes space for every race, ethnicity, age, orientation, and gender identity. We welcome belief and doubt, devotion and exploration, while hoping to connect with God, one another, and our world as we do life together. If you are a visitor or newer to Sanctuary, we invite you to connect further with us through our website. There's a welcome tab there. You can see the link on your screen. And we know it's difficult to connect to a church anytime, but especially during a pandemic. So you can fill that out and it lets us know who you are, how we can best connect further with you. From there, you can see some valuable links and resources on our website and learn more about us. Speaking of Sanctuary's website, you can find information on how to give financially at the link you see on your screen. If you do not currently give to Sanctuary, we invite you to consider doing so. Everything we do is made possible through donations and contributions. So thank you. I have just one announcement this week. Ash Wednesday is coming up soon. It might be a cold one. We'll see. It's February 17th this year on that Wednesday. And that begins the 7-week period we call Lent, which leads up to Easter. Typically, we hold a worship service on Ash Wednesday, but we will not be doing that this year, however. We are providing the opportunity for the imposition of ashes. You can read all about that at our website. Just go to the homepage of our website and you can see a link there with more details. It'll be outside in the church parking lot. We ask everyone to wear masks, and it's between 5 and 6 p.m. on the 17th. All right, with that, we'll transition now to our Kids Ministry Director, Leanna Cornally, for her update this week. Leanna, what do you have for us?
Good morning. Happy to see you all today. Today on the Kids Wing blog, we're talking about love. First, we will wonder together about what love means, what it looks like, what it feels like, and what it does. And I need your help for this. We are going to compile a video of Sanctuary children answering the question, what is love? So the basic idea is this: ask your child what love is and take a very quick 3 to 5 second video of their answer. You can send your clips to me before this Friday, the 12th, and we'll be showing the video on Sunday, the 14th. There are many more details about it on the blog today, but it's pretty simple, and I hope many of you will participate so we can see all of your kids' faces and their thoughts about love. Finally, this coming Saturday, the 13th, we'll have our next packet pickup and library day at the church. That will be from 3 to 5 p.m., and that will include materials to kick off the season of Lent as we explore more about God's love and how God's love changes things. So, in summary, send me your video clips by Friday, and I'll see you at the church from 3 to 5 on Saturday. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Leanna. And I appreciate the reminder that Valentine's Day is a week from today. Helpful tip. All right, this week, our community spotlight is on Black History Month. February is Black History Month, as many of you are aware, and we thought we'd take a bit of time each Sunday during this month to highlight a historical Black faith leader as a way to both recognize influential Black leaders in American history, but also some of the specific contributions to faith and church. Now, some quick background on Black History Month. It's been celebrated in February since the 1970s, but an early annual recognition began as early as the 1920s. And there are two broad goals. The first is to recognize the often overlooked contributions of Black people in American history and culture. And number two is to situate Black people's stories and history as a fundamental and crucial part of American history. Now, I want to acknowledge that there is a tension here in celebrating Black History Month. Some have argued that Black history and culture ought to be more integrated into American history curriculum instead of having it singled out as a single or special month of recognition. And that would make it a more equitable representation in the consciousness of American history and identity year round. Others argue that while that equitable representation is always the goal, having a specific month to celebrate Black history will help bring more recognition where it is needed. So at Sanctuary, we're often navigating that tension. At times, we choose to highlight special holidays and dates and how they intersect with faith. Other times, we're seeking to integrate overlooked voices and traditions into our regular worship and practices. So, with that as a broad introduction, I want to turn now to Allie Borger-Gurman, my wife, who will highlight one important faith leader for us this week. Go ahead, Allie.
Well, good morning. This morning, I'm really happy to share that we're going to honor and celebrate Pauli Murray, a Black faith leader who was born in 1910 and died in 1985. She was a lawyer, an author, a civil rights activist, and an Episcopal priest. There are a lot of remarkable things about Murray's life, but here are some of the highlights. In 1940, along with a friend, Pauli Murray was arrested for sitting in the whites-only section of a bus in Virginia as a protest. That was 15 years before Rosa Parks did the same thing as a part of the coordinated bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. The experience for Murray led her to pursue a career in law and civil rights work. The rest of her career shows how she was straddling the twin concerns of women's rights and rights for Black people. She coined the term Jane Crow to describe the particular cruelty that Black women face. A few years later, in the mid-1940s, Murray is credited with providing the underlying legal arguments used to overturn separate but unequal schooling. She provided those arguments as a law student and made a bet of $10 that her arguments would work. They did 10 years later in Brown versus the Board of Education. So she won that bet. All of this happened, by the way, in a law school where there was not a single other woman law student and no female faculty. In 1960, Murray helped Betty Friedan found NOW, the National Organization for Women, to advance women's rights and equality. In 1971, Murray produced the legal arguments that Ruth Bader Ginsburg used to win a case in the United States Supreme Court protecting women's rights. It cannot be overstated how important this decision was for women. In 1971, this was the first time the Supreme Court ruled that Equal Protections Clause in the 14th Amendment applied to women. Ginsburg went on to cite Pauli Murray as a co-author, even though she had not been part of the writing, simply because it was entirely Murray's legal arguments that provided the framework to win the case. Finally, in January of 1977, a year after I was born, Murray became the first African-American woman to be ordained in the Episcopal Church. A month later, she served communion at a small church in North Carolina. It was the same church where her grandmother, Cornelia, had been baptized when she was only a baby and still an enslaved person. That day, Pauli Murray, her granddaughter, stood in the same spot as a priest with 4 advanced degrees, serving communion and leading worship.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allie, for sharing Pauli Murray with us. So we'll look forward to that at each week in February, another Black faith leader. So thanks. All right, at this time, we'll transition to our first song of worship from Amy Hospodarsky this week, and then we'll transition to one of our senior pastors, Tom Wassing, for the morning message after that.
God of mercy, full of grace, you are forever, always forever, slow to anger, rich in love, you are forever, always forever, we hear your kingdom shout, and all your praises ring, so let the heavens roar, echo across the ground, and as your people sing of your majesty, Lord, hear the sound, Lord, hear the sound. God of mercy, full of grace, you are forever, always forever, slow to anger, rich in love, you are forever, always forever, we hear your kingdom shout, and all your praises ring, so let the heavens roar, echo across the ground, and as your people sing of your majesty, Lord, hear the sound, Lord, hear the sound. Everyone, 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 you forgive, everyone, you restore, everyone, you redeem, everyone, you forgive, everyone, you restore, everyone, you redeem, everyone, so let the heavens roar, echo across the ground, and as your people sing of your majesty, Lord, hear the sound, so let the heavens roar, echo across the ground, and as your people sing of your majesty, Lord, hear the sound, Lord, hear the sound.
So I hate COVID. It's just really, really awful. It messes with my life. It makes me miserable and the people around me miserable. It just touches and destroys and taints everything. I just wish it would end. All right, that was a little bit weak. Let me try again. COVID, I hate you. You have robbed me of a year of life. You have kept me from my family, from my children and my grandchildren and the friends in my faith community. You have wreaked havoc on life and work and economics and money. You have taken from us thousands and thousands of lives of people who we love. And now, even as vaccines kind of eke their way in, mutations spring up every day that are horrible and that are just gonna make a mess of everything. And to make matters worse, it didn't have to be this way. The people who we trusted to take care of us, to manage this situation have been appallingly bad, just horrible, horrible, horrible. It could have gone better. I can't even tell you the fantasies that I have because this is Sunday morning after all. So there's my COVID rant. You know, I'd give myself like, I don't know, a B minus maybe. In truth, as I approached this Sunday morning, I just didn't want to talk about COVID anymore. I really didn't. Like, give me anything else. The Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, the weather, right? But then I had conversations with some friends earlier in the week, and specifically parents of school-aged children. And I just detected a different level of brokenness in both them and in their experience of life. There was much less putting a good face on it. We're trying, we're working with the school system. There's much less even decrying people who they were frustrated with. I just heard them say, our children are suffering. Our home is just full of stress. We can't fix this. I don't know what to do. There's like a settling into the brokenness and the travail that I hadn't detected before. So I thought, okay, I think this is what we have to keep talking about. And so I went in the direction that the well-worn path, it's a good well-worn path, right? There's a reason that it's a well-worn path. It's a good one. As I look to my faith and look to my text for help, the thoughts are finding hope in the midst of despair, light in the midst of darkness, peace in the midst of chaos, right? That's a theme in our text. There's a lot of chaos and darkness and despair. And what I look for is something that in the midst of that, that acknowledges that nonetheless lifts me up. So into my mind came Psalm 137. It starts like this. By Babylon's streams, there we sat, oh, we wept when we recalled Zion. So Psalm 137 is a psalm of lament. It's written by Israelites who have been taken from their homeland, carried off to captivity by the Babylonians. And one of the deep sources of travail for them is that, of course, life is, they're not able to live life as it was meant to be lived for them. And specifically, they've been taken away from Jerusalem, the beautiful city, the city of God that they were able to enjoy. They cannot enjoy life at ease, at rest, at peace in this place of beauty, right, that they want to enjoy. The psalm goes on the poplars there we hung up our lyres. For there our captives had asked of us words of song, and our plunderers rejoicing, sing us from Zion's songs. How can we sing a song of the Lord on foreign soil? So here's the stress of this psalm, that the captors, the ones who've carried them away, are saying, oh yeah, could you sing us some happy songs, some of your worship songs? We really like those. And so the singers, the psalmists are saying, how can we possibly do that? But as the psalm goes on, I'm anticipating again, travail, distress, but in the end, finding God. So it goes on. Should I forget you, Jerusalem, may my right hand wither. May my tongue cleave to my palate if I do not recall you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my chief joy. Recall, O Lord, the Edomites on the day of Israel, saying, raise it to its foundation. So what the psalmist is saying is, we remember that day when the Edomites, our captors, came and razed our city to the ground. Daughter of Babylon, the despoiler, happy who pays you back in kind for what you did to us. Happy who seizes and smashes your infants against the rock. I flip to the next page and there's Psalm 138. So that's how the psalm ends, right? like, wait, where is the hope? Where is the upliftingness? I sort of realized, well, I guess I can't use that one. Or I need to like pretend it doesn't end that way, because that's pretty intense. There's a lot of expressed rage and desire for vengeance, a lot of expressed distress there. The thing about it is that it is in the text, right? Like God, as God was sorting through which ones would make it in and not in the Psalms, didn't come across this one and say, okay, I guess we're just going to do 149 instead of 150 Psalms, right? Either you need to modify the ending or we'll put that one to the side. But even the writer, even the translator of this Bible feels uncomfortable with the intensity. This is the translator's note, right? No moral justification can be offered for this notorious concluding line. All one can do is to recall the background of outraged feeling that triggers the conclusion. This blood-curdling curse pronounced on their captors, who fortunately do not understand the Hebrew in which it is pronounced. So the translator is really uncomfortable with the sentiment and is sort of saying, I had nothing to do with that. That wasn't me. That's really horrible. And then he makes this really bizarre statement that the only reason like the psalmist sort of escaped destruction from their captors is it was spoken in a language the captors didn't understand. So I heard that, I wrestled with that. It made me uncomfortable, but I thought maybe there's something to what's going on in this psalm. So I kept looking for material that again might be helpful during a time such as this. The next story I came across is from the book of Esther. So here again is a setting of displacement. The people of Israel have been carried off into captivity. They are not able to live as they were meant to live. And threat is coming from the oppressors. An edict has been sent out to essentially destroy the Jewish people. And it says, when Mordecai learned all that had been done, Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes. So sackcloth is a garment made from goat skin where you turn it inside out so that the Brillo pad-like skin of the goat is against your skin. And then he puts ashes onto himself. And Mordecai went through the city wailing with a loud and bitter cry. He went up to the entrance of the king's gate, for no one might enter the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. So in this place, no one is allowed in the presence of the king, showing obvious or intentional signs of distress. In every province, wherever the king's command and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jewish people, with fasting and weeping and lamenting, and most of them lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's maids and her eunuchs came and told her, the queen was deeply distressed. But listen to why. She sent garments to clothe Mordecai so that he might take off his sackcloth, but he would not accept them. So a part of Esther's distress, in addition to what's going on with her people, is Mordecai's display, his expression of distress. Mordecai is not just being distressed and communicating it, he's living into it. He's inhabiting it in a way that's, in a sense, theatrical, right? He's putting on a garment to display distress, to accentuate his experience of it. He's putting on makeup, the makeup of distress. And when Esther hears about this, she's like, oh, come on. Can't you lighten up? Put on a happy face. She sends him different clothes to wear. And Mordecai says, no, I'm not going to put those on. Don't make me try to feel better about this than it is. In fact, I'm going in the other direction. I'm going to accentuate it, highlight it, make more of it. Now, I got to tell you, from my background, I'm all in with Esther here, right? And you know, I've told you many times, I'm Dutch. I grew up in a Christian tradition, the Reformed tradition, and just It's just a lot of things telling you not to put yourself on display, not to be expressive in any way. Don't be too happy, things will get worse. Don't be too sad, things will get better. You know, we have very limited things about which we can communicate enthusiasm, like, for example, football, you know, specifically University of Michigan football, that we can be excited about. But so as Esther encounters Mordecai, and I'm imagining, and I'm thinking what she's thinking, like, come on, it'll get better. Put on a happy face. Don't feel so sad. And we do this in all sorts of ways, right? We're people of faith, so we're supposed to be hopeful. We do the comparison thing. Oh, it's worse for somebody else than it is for me, which is a way of me telling myself I can't feel bad and I can't express feeling bad. Right? So I encounter this, and this whole like sackcloth and ashes approach, weeping and wailing, it's not an isolated circumstance. It's through and through the expression of faith of the people in the text. It's a deep part of inhabiting grief, and not just grief, but inhabiting rage, inhabiting the desire for vengeance. One last story that takes it a step further, right? Because at this point, we're kind of in the land of permissiveness or welcome, or this is a thing you can do. So this occurs during a time of famine. It's from the prophet Joel. Hear this, O elders, give ear, all inhabitants of the land. Has such a thing happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. What the cutting locust left, the swarming locust has eaten. What the swarming locust left, the hopping locust has eaten. And what the hopping locust left, the destroying locust has eaten. Now, I had no idea there were that many kinds of locusts and that's how you distinguished them. But we're really leaning into the difficulty. Wake up, you drunkards, and weep, and wail, all you wine drinkers, over the sweet wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. Be dismayed, you farmers. Wail, you vine dressers, over the wheat and the barley, for the crops of the field are ruined. The vine withers, the fig tree droops, pomegranate, palm, and apple, all the trees of the field are dried up. Surely joy withers away from the people. Put on sackcloth and lament, you priests. Wail, you ministers of the altar. Come, pass the night in sackcloth, you ministers of my God. So we've gone from putting on a happy face. We're far away from sadness or grief or displays of distress being prohibited in the presence of the king, to a command, right? This is the prophet saying to the leaders of the faith community, you see that your people are in distress. You better get down and wail. You better join in with their discomfort, right? You better participate in this. Go all in. Say what's in you to say. I have to say, when my wife and I were talking about this whole theme, you know, I come to you obviously as someone for whom I'm not very good at it, I don't think, because it's so foreign to me, so foreign to my makeup. I have all these prohibitions. Such is not the case with my wife. I think she came into being as a person who knew her emotions and felt free expressing them. And don't you tell me not to. We joke about our families coming together, sort of our version of my big fat Jewish wedding, right? My family is kind of the uptight people sitting at a table, one person talking at a time, and, you know, not too much going on. And her family, everybody's talking, and it's loud and voluble, and there are all sorts of words flying that were not permitted in my family that, you know, I use now with liberality. But so for her too, I think this then translating to, if she sees somebody else in distress, she is in their distress with them and expresses it with them. So it's not even just a thing that she expresses on her own behalf. It's in the presence of distress, I will say it. There is a permissiveness, a welcomingness, an intensity to it, an edict almost, to communicate deep distress, all the things that are in us. And what I find remarkable too in these passages is it's not like it's explained, right? There's not a narrator or a psychologist standing off to the side saying, if you do this, it's cathartic and you will feel better, and that's why you should. It's just a practice. It's just a component. It runs in parallel. It does not do away with finding hope, but it certainly runs in parallel to that. And I found it, as I encountered these passages, I just found myself like loosening up and giving it a try. All of the fears and anxieties that I have about saying what I'm really feeling about this current situation, I just found them crumbling a little bit. And I found something of deep relief in that, of truth, of a way of inhabiting the current reality that we're all living in, that there's a power to this kind of expression and a welcomingness, right? It's not just venting, it is all in the presence of God, right? So God is there, God is listening, God is not freaked out, God is not like, what did you say? You know, what word did you use? And so my invitation to you this morning is, if this is something that resonates with you, that this is that this can be a part of our faith practice. I want to symbolize it in this morning as a way into just a moment of reflection, of meditation, of paying attention to this. David mentioned on February 17, we are going to celebrate Ash Wednesday together. So I have from a candle some ashes. We are going to disfigure ourselves together. So this will be available to all of us. It's remarkable, right? That the way into the celebration of Easter, the beginning, the launching of Lent, is through an intentional disfiguring of ourselves that reflects a deep embracing and inhabiting of grief, travail, loss, rage, all of it, right? The wrongness of what we celebrate when Christ goes to the cross, right? That's where we start. That's the way through. So I invite you, I'm going to pray and just ask God if this is something that you would find beneficial to help you face that, maybe face your own misgivings about expressing what's really in you. Maybe you have things that you've been longing to express and you're all muted, so you can say whatever you want to say. You might want to shut off your video feed too, just in case there are lip readers out there. Just saying. So God, we come to you as a people who we just have all sorts of ways of talking ourselves out of expressing what we're really feeling, of being in the deep distress of the people around us, of the deep distress of our world, the wrongness of it, the loss, the grief, the travail, the brokenness, the rage, just all of it, God. Oh my goodness, we hide from it so much. You have no misgivings about our expressing ourselves. So help us in this moment to face ourselves, to see what's really in there. And if it's alive and ready to express what's in us to express, to begin that right now, God. Come. Amen. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. We'll continue going forward with a couple of songs of worship.
there in my breathing, God in my waking, God in my sleeping, God in my resting, there in my working, God in my thinking, God in my speaking. Be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. God in my hoping, there in my dreaming, God in my watching, God in my waiting, God in my laughing, there in my weeping, God in my hurting, God in my healing. Be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, the hope of glory. You are everything. Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, the hope of glory. Be my everything, 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 be my everything. God in my living, there in my breathing, God in my waking, God in my sleeping, God in my resting, there in my working, God in my thinking, God in my sleeping. Be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, the hope of glory. You are everything. Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, the hope of glory. Be my everything. You are everything. You are everything. You are everything. You are everything. Jesus everything. Jesus everything. Jesus everything. Jesus everything. God in my hoping, there in my dreaming, God in my watching, God in my waiting, God in my laughing, there in my weeping, God in my hurting, God in my healing. Be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. God of mercy, God of tenderness, God of
Hey friends, I was thinking as we were singing those songs, Adi and I had been a part of a couple of conversations and meetings this past week where they ended and we just thought, wow, that felt really good. And I think in part it's because we leaned into this practice. Like maybe we just can't anymore pretend that it's better than it is. Maybe we trusted the friends we were talking with enough to just be real with each other. However it worked, it was really, really good. Just know that we love you. We love you all. We know that we're all suffering and struggling through this thing. There's room in this faith community for truth about that, for reality. So let me pray as we close. God, we know that you're with us. You know what's really going on. You have capacity to hear, to contain everything that's within us. So we look for your hope, we look for your help, but we're grateful for the encouragement, even the nudge, even the command to name our suffering, our travail, our rage, our sadness, to be in it with each other. Thank you for your in it with us-ness. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Tom. Thanks everyone for joining us this morning. Lovely to be together. Stay warm, stay safe out there this week. We'll do it again next week. Take care. If you'd like to stick around, you're very welcome to chat.